Hey guys, I've seen a lot of videos about how to clean your fuel injectors, but not a lot about how to remove them from your car. So today, we're going to talk about that. The car I'm using here is a 2013 Subaru Legacy, and it's got an Apose 4-cylinder engine. And it's going to be a little bit different from an inline 4 because it's going to have two fuel rails. But in principle, the process of removing each fuel rail is going to be very similar to most of any other car. Before you go ahead with this procedure, you're going to want to make sure to order the seals for your fuel injectors, because the last thing you want is a fuel leak. A fuel leak could be a really bad thing. It could actually lead to a fire. So I ordered the seals for my Subaru off of Rock Auto. They've got a pretty good website, so you can kind of dig down to your exact car model, exact car year, and exact car engine. So go ahead and do that before you dig in too deep here. The first thing you're going to want to do before attempting any of this is put some safety glasses on, because the fuel is going to be under pressure and you want to make sure that you don't squirt any fuel in your eye, which is a bad thing. To relieve that fuel pressure though, you're going to want to locate the fuse for your fuel pump. Once you locate that fuse, pull the fuse and insert the key into the ignition and crank the ignition for a little while. Now the car won't start, and if it does, it'll stall pretty much immediately because it's got no fuel pressure from, no fuel pump pumping it. So that's how you would relieve the fuel pressure in your car. Next, we're going to see if there's anything covering up your fuel rail. In this car, we've got a little cover covering it up, so a little black cover, and we're going to use a 10mm wrench to remove that cover and take it off. Once you've removed the cover over your fuel injectors, you can proceed to removing the fuel rail. So there's two 10mm bolts that bolt the fuel rail down. You're going to go ahead and loosen those bolts and completely remove them. Now just be careful not to drop them down into your head or anywhere that you could lose these bolts. Now your fuel rail is loose and you need to just disconnect a couple fittings. You've got one main fuel fitting going into the fuel rail, so disconnect that, which in this case involves just sliding a little blue C-clip back and pulling it out. And this may drip a little fuel, so have a rag ready to cover it up, and if you can bend it up a little high, that helps to help from dripping fuel onto your engine. You're next going to want to remove the electrical plugs that plug into your fuel injectors. And keep track of these. In most cases, it's going to be pretty obvious which one goes where, but you don't want to misorder them or your engine won't run right. Finally, wiggle the fuel rail out. The fuel rail should come out relatively easy, and keep an eye on the seals. You might find that you could have seals getting stuck in your head. If you do get a seal stuck in, just use a little dental style tool to pop the seals out. And just be careful not to drop any dirt into your engine and not to scratch the sides of your cylinder head. Now with the fuel rail out, all you've got to do is wiggle the injectors out of the fuel rail if they didn't come out of it during the process of pulling it out. Now again, this might drip a little bit of fuel, so be sure to have a rag around. And that's all there is to removing the driver's side fuel rail. And the installation process is going to be exactly the same, but the opposite. And of course, you're going to make sure to put new seals on when you do that. To make the seals slide in a little bit easier, put a little bit of motor oil on them. That'll just help them slide right in there and not stick and seal right up without a problem. To do the passenger side on this car, we just have to remove the air intake tube, and we're also going to remove the one half of the air box. And on that one half is the mass airflow sensor, so we'll have to unplug that. Once you've got that off, the procedure will be exactly the same as the driver's side. You're going to remove the black cover that covers the fuel injectors. Use your 10mm wrench to remove the bolts that hold on the fuel rail, and then wiggle the fuel rail off. Once you get everything put back together, you do want to be very, very careful and check for leaks. So repressurize the fuel system by turning the key to the on position. Once it's to the on position, come under your hood and just look really, really hard. Use a flashlight and check everywhere where there was an O-ring. Just make sure that there are no little leaks. Once you've verified there are no leaks, you can start your car, drive it around. It's probably going to feel nice once you've cleaned your fuel injectors. But when you're done driving around, once again, go ahead and check for leaks. Again, this is the one thing that you could royally screw up on this project, is if you had a leaking fuel system, because you really, really don't want your car to catch on fire. But all in all, removing your fuel injectors is really a pretty simple procedure. If you like these kinds of how-to videos, make sure to click the little subscribe button below. And if you want to be notified for future videos, click the bell. Thanks for watching.